Hi everyone, welcome back to the Fourth and Gold podcast for our Week 15 preview and a quick look back at what happened last week in Week 14. Yeah, it's definitely December and what I call upset season. A lot of volatile results last week. So maybe let's just hop straight in. Performance of the week. A few candidates from the past week. Lamar Jackson, that was about as Lamar Jackson a performance as you could get. He was dominant in the passing game. He was dominant in the run game. That was a very close game, a great effort by the Rams. But Lamar, he just seemed to be on it overall. Some of the plays he made, it was like playground stuff. The touchdown throws, we already knew he was an elite passer, but he's just taking it to that next step now. Certainly that touchdown throw to Zay Flowers, it was perfect on the money. And the funniest one was the 2-point conversion after, where the ball snapped and he rolls to his right. Defenders coming to tackle him, and he basically just jukes him, gets hit by someone else, and then throws it anyway to Zay Flowers for the 2-pointer. Great performance by him. But I'm gonna go in a slightly different direction this week. I'm gonna give it to the Cleveland Browns, notably their 38-year-old backup quarterback Joe Flacco and the Browns defense. What we've seen this year is a lot of injuries to quarterbacks in particular. And what that's meant is we've seen a lot of backup quarterback play that on the whole hasn't been very good. These are guys that, they're either sort of rookies or they're journeymen or they're just guys that, have had a little bit of experience, and you want them to kind of come in and take their opportunity, but I'd say a lot of them this year have not done that. I'm sort of looking at Jake Browning as an anomaly, that he's done pretty well for the Bengals. But Joe Flacco, at 38 years old, has played for the Browns for 2 weeks now, and by no means was this perfect. Like, it certainly wasn't the performance of the week, but I just think, given the circumstances, the situation of it all, he did a really good job giving the Browns on offense some life, because they were starting to unravel a bit. The defense we know is real and will always keep you in games, but it just felt like with PJ Walker, DTR, they just weren't really finding the answer there. And Joe Flacco, he just made like enough plays in this game to give the passing game, some respect that the Jaguars had to account for. Because that's the issue. If you've got no passing game, it doesn't matter how elite your run game is, teams will just sell out for it. And they couldn't do that because the Browns, they were running the ball well, and Joe Flacco was able to hit a lot of play action. He hasn't got the arm strength of 2012 Joe Flacco, but it was enough. And it wasn't a case of he's throwing checkdowns every play. Like, he was throwing outside the numbers. He was throwing a bit downfield. They took advantage of what was there, and the Jaguars gave them plenty. Like, there was a lot of big plays where the Jaguars defense just kind of broke. A lot of bad coverages, gave Joe Flacco a 300-plus passing yard day. It was definitely overinflated because of those big plays. But irregardless, not going to take anything away from Joe Flacco. He's 38. He hasn't played this year up until the last 2 weeks. He says he loves the game, and that shows. Like, he wants to keep going. He's away from his family in a hotel room every night. He doesn't have to play again. He's made plenty of money from his career. But the love of the game keeps him wanting to just have that one last go. So, I mean, I look at the numbers, 311 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. He had a 92 passer rating. He did have an interception. It was kind of a pick play. Like, it could have been called, I think, maybe pass interference. So we can let him off for that one. He did have a fumble that he lost as well that kind of let the Jaguars back in, I think sort of late in the second quarter. But overall, like he's given them what they need in the absence of Deshaun Watson. And what that is a, I don't want to say competent, but productive enough passing game where their offense can be balanced. Because once you get just enough passing game, your run game that is elite is going to be able to thrive as well. So that's what we saw this week. Browns defensively, 4 sacks on Trevor Lawrence, 3 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles. You know, that's what I mean. Joe Flacco is there to complement what they have, and their strength is their defense. It's been great all year, really. They can't win on their own, and that's why I think if Joe Flacco can just keep this production going, you know, we're not asking you to be Josh Allen out there. They could be dangerous in this AFC because this AFC is wide open this year. There is not a dominant team. As great as the Ravens have been, the Browns somehow beat them in Baltimore. Yes, there was a bit of fortune to it, but that's what I'm saying. It really feels like any given Sunday in the AFC, and we're going to see that in the playoffs, I think. Moving on to step it up. Again, a few candidates this week. I looked at Jalen Hurts. Not sure that you are a $52 million quarterback, as I keep saying. For that sort of money, we expect you to overcome things. This past week was a bit different. Dallas's pass rush was hellacious. They did win the line of scrimmage. The previous week against the 49ers, though, the offensive line had the 49ers in check the 49ers pass rush in check most of the night. It felt like he had plenty of time in the pocket. Now, did the 49ers secondary step up? Maybe. But it just feels like right now, Jalen Hurts, he kind of needs to step it up to get this team back on track. But I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions this week. What can I say? The defense is atrocious. This is a horrible, horrible defense to watch. You can do anything. You can run the ball on them. You can pass the ball on them. You can do whatever you like. They ain't making stops, or at least consistently making stops. Justin Fields early in the game was able to run wild. The offense, Ben Johnson, someone that I have been raving about this year. I don't know what's happened. It's not just all on Goff. Goff has, his play has definitely declined as we've approached the end of the season. He's certainly not playing the way he was playing in September, October. This week it felt like they couldn't get Amon-Ra St. Brown going, whether it was Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown not quite on the same page. There was like a key, I think, third down where Amon-Ra St. Brown is crossing the field and then stopped. Goff thought he was going to continue, so he threw it, and obviously, that goes wildly incomplete because of that. Amon-Ra St. Brown did have a few drops. It just feels like when he's not quite on, this offense, yes, they can run the ball whenever they want, but when you're behind, that's not what you want to do. It feels like when Amon-Ra St. Brown isn't quite on, this offense kind of stutters a bit. We saw what a performance from Sam Laporta last week. What was it? 170 yards for the rookie tight end. They've got weapons. They've got plenty of weapons, which is why this is so puzzling that, for weeks now, yes, they've won games, but they've also lost games. Their wins have been a little bit fortunate as well. They need to step it up collectively because they're trending in the wrong direction now. And yes, playoffs isn't guaranteed now. It should have been, but not guaranteed. They've got to win a few more games. And I think if the Vikings were to win out, the Vikings win the division because it's a 2-game gap and the Lions and the Vikings have to play twice. So, yeah, Lions, you've got to step it up. You've made such a promising season of it. You don't want to end this with either not making the playoffs or somehow getting upset in the wildcard round. So, Detroit Lions, step it up. Top 5 teams in the NFL. This week, it might be a bit harsh, but the Dolphins drop out. I'm just a bit concerned with their, I want to say, almost over-reliance on Tyreek Hill. I think Monday really exemplified why maybe he should be MVP because they started the game and they were rolling in a way. Tyreek Hill gets the injury, comes out the game. The offense kind of falls apart. He comes back in the game and provides them with a spark where their offense was going again. And then he had to come out the game again and they couldn't get anything going properly. So maybe a little bit harsh, but the Dolphins will drop out this week. At number 5, may come as a surprise, but I'm gonna pick the Buffalo Bills, making a return, long-awaited return to the top 5. Defensively, they have looked better. We all know about my man Joshua Patrick Allen, runs like Lamar, throws like Mahomes. It's certainly not perfect on offense at the moment, but we have seen an improvement since Joe Brady took over the play calling. Interestingly, since that happened, James Cook has had 100+ scrimmage yards every game. He's become a focal point of the offense now. My concern is really with Stephon Diggs. I just don't think that you're getting the level of production from Stephon Diggs, or shall we say threat, that you do from a Tyreek Hill, a Justin Jefferson, a Jamar Chase, where if you single cover them, good luck to you because they will destroy you. I just think that maybe I've been a bit harsh on the supporting cast. When you look at Dalton Kincaid, who looks pretty good, the return of Dawson Knox hopefully will be an add for them. The other receivers, Gabriel Davis, I'm not the greatest fan of, but he's not a number 1 or a number 2 receiver in my eyes. And then you've got Khalil Shakir, the speedster. I feel like if you had, say, Justin Jefferson instead of Stephon Diggs, those guys would get a lot more action because of the fact teams would have to, basically account for Justin Jefferson in an emphasized way. Because they don't have to do that with Diggs, I think that creates, a sort of more balanced approach where they can just, opposition can just play their defense, evenly. I just think that you can't pay Diggs what he's getting in return for the production and threat that he is currently offering. So there's still work to do with the Bills. It's a work in progress, but if this team can catch heat at the right time and they get an opportunity to perhaps create a turning point in their season this week playing the Cowboys, this team can be dangerous because the AFC, as I've said, is wide open this year. At number 4, dropping down this week, is the Philadelphia Eagles. I said last week, not going to overreact. I don't necessarily feel like them dropping from 3 to 4 or 2 to 3 is an overreaction from last week. But there's certainly a level of concern now. I did pick the 49ers and I did pick the Cowboys to beat them, but it's the manner in which they got beaten in both weeks which is really concerning, I'd say. Pass defense continues to be a massive issue for them. Yes, they can stop the run, but what good is that when you're so incompetent against the pass? Like, I'm just so shocked because you're looking at the players on this defense, the likes of Darius Slay. They've obviously acquired Kevin Byard, James Bradbury. These guys, a lot of them were here last year. It's just a bit surprising to me. Maybe a few weeks of Shaquille Leonard integrating himself may improve things. Not from in terms of a pass defense standpoint, but just as an overall defensive ad. Like Shaquille Leonard, the last few years he's had, the amount of fumbles that he's forced, like he is a chaos maker. Perhaps just didn't fit in with the new regime at the Colts, but I wouldn't write him off straight away. I think that he will have something to add. Now, on the offensive side, major concerns, I'd say. And I'm looking at Jalen Hurts because $52 million per year, we're not seeing that level of play. Now, this week was slightly different from the 49ers. I felt like they protected really well against the 49ers. Jalen Hurts had plenty of time in the pocket, but he didn't utilize it well, in my opinion. This week, the Cowboys rush gave the Eagles a lot more problems, and Jalen Hurts didn't have the same level of time as he did the previous week. But you're on $52 million per year. I expect you to overcome some of this. I don't see it. And I just think that when you've got the likes of AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, this level of play, you're not getting the most out of them the way that other quarterbacks are getting the most out of their weapons. So for me, 2 areas of major improvement: the pass defense and Jalen Hurts' passing offense, really. Number 3 this week, it is the Baltimore Ravens. That game against the Rams, perhaps we weren't expecting it to be as close as it was. That was a hell of a way to win a game. Hell of a return for the touchdown. I'm sorry, the name is not... I haven't got the name in my head right now of the returner, but that was an unbelievable return of will, skill, and just great way to end a game like that. Lamar Jackson. What a Lamar Jackson-esque game that was. He was phenomenal in the passing game. He was brilliant on the ground. We know that he is a great runner. Some of us have known that he's been a great passer for a long time, even though the media will give you a different narrative. But some of the passes in this game were phenomenal. I mean, I look back to the touchdown pass late in the game to Zay Flowers, right on the money. It was just a great throw, great delivery, and his timing and the flick of the wrist, like the amount of power he can generate with his throwing motion is just, surprising, really. Like, he is a top-tier player. And then the 2-point conversion after that, I thought was just hilarious. He rolls up to his right. Defenders coming in to make the tackle. He just jukes to the left. Another defender comes in, kind of levels him. And as he's getting hit, he's just like, I'm just going to throw it to Zay Flowers off balance anyway for the 2-point conversion. So, yeah, I mean, they're very good, this Ravens team, but there's something that is also telling me that maybe they're not quite good enough yet, and that's okay. Like, they're very good. But I think that they probably need to go up a couple of notches once we reach the playoffs. But certainly, great team, maybe the best team in the AFC right now. Defensively, yeah, they've got it. Offensively, it's coming together. And maybe they're going to peak at the right time because this team is going to be very difficult to beat in the playoffs. At number 2, interestingly, it's the Dallas Cowboys. How about them boys? That was a dominant performance against the Eagles. As I touched on, Lane Johnson put Nick Bosa and Chase Young, for the most part, in a box 2 weeks ago against the 49ers. He had a much tougher day this week against Micah Parsons and the crew on the Cowboys' defensive line. I thought that their rush was a lot more dominant than the 49ers were. Offensively, yep, Dak Prescott is playing very well. CeeDee Lamb has really established himself as a true number 1 receiver. He is very difficult to guard. They've sort of found themselves now with these 2 wins against Seattle and the Eagles. It's kind of the thing that they wanted to almost prove to the world, that we can win the big games. I believe that if the Eagles win out and the Cowboys win out, that the Eagles actually win the division. So they still need a bit of help, maybe from Seattle this week, if they are to clinch the number 2 seed. But if it ends up being the number 5 seed and they play the winner of the NFC South, they're still in great position to make a run in the playoffs in the NFC. Which means that for a second week in a row, the number 1 team in the NFL is my San Francisco 49ers. Wasn't our best game against Seattle. A lot kind of went wrong, really, but we were never really in danger of losing the game. I mean, I say that wasn't a great game. Brock Purdy threw for the highest of his career. I think it was 368 passing yards. McCaffrey was over 100 rushing yards, somewhere in the region of 150 total scrimmage yards. Deebo Samuel, again, 150 odd receiving yards with 2 touchdowns. Brandon Ayuk, over 100 yards receiving himself. And George Kittle went for 75 receiving yards. So a B grade performance. And it looks like that on offense. Yeah, this team, very good. There was a play, I think it was like the first play of the game, McCaffrey's run. Just look at the all-22 view of this with Brandon Ayuk, the level of effort on the blocking. He ran all the way to make multiple blocks. And that just speaks to the culture of this team. It's just selfless effort from superstars. This team, if they can stay healthy, maybe, just maybe, I know I shouldn't say this. We're in week 15. But maybe, just maybe, this is our year. So yeah, 49ers at number 1. Defensively, yeah, it was a bit ropey. It was quite an expensive day in terms of injuries. Dre Greenlaw took a hit. Obviously, we didn't have Javon Hargrave. It sounds like those guys will be okay. But over the next few weeks, the 49ers have to somehow put an emphasis on staying healthy, because a couple of injuries and, things can change very, very quickly. But if this team stays healthy, watch out. It is going to be very difficult to beat this team. So before we make our Week 15 game picks, let's take a look at the standings. Paul sits on 129 wins to 79 losses. He had an 8-7 Week 14, which kind of speaks to the week it was. Highly volatile, lots of upsets, December football, you know what you're getting. So he sits at 62% win rate for the year, which is very good. In second, we've got Rob, 133 wins to 75 losses. He went 9-6 in Week 14. That's a 63.9% win rate. At one point, Rob was perfect, but the late window, didn't go so well for him. But he was looking to make a run at number one. So that means that at number one, I do remain. 136 wins to 72 losses. I also went 9-6. After that first window, it was not looking like 9-6. Yeah, that was a horrendous first set of games for me, but thankfully I was able to recover later in the day. So I sit at a 65.4% win rate. So all to play for with 4 weeks to go. I think we're doing very well. You won't find many analysts out there that have a better record than us three. So stick with us and you'll be successful, I think. So Week 15 kicks off. Thursday night football. Chargers at Raiders. Justin Herbert out for the year with a fractured finger. Keenan Allen has also been ruled out. Devontae Adams is doubtful for the Raiders. Josh Jacobs also questionable. What do you do in this situation? I really wonder what kind of game this will be. But even if Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen had played, I may have still picked the Raiders anyway. I've got no faith in the Chargers under Brandon Staley. I love Justin Herbert, but he's being wasted. And I just hope that now he's having a season-ending surgery. When he returns, I hope there's a new head coach in place because this cannot continue. We cannot keep wasting superstars in the making like this. So by default, I say by default, the Raiders were shut out last week and lost 3-0. This will be a strange game, I think. But I think the Raiders will bounce back. Raiders win. Avoid at all costs. Do not place any wagers on this game. You would have to be insane, I think, to place anything of any worth, because this will be probably the most unpredictable game of the week. We have a Saturday night triple header. December football, I love it. We get Saturday NFL and Sunday NFL. Christmas, come early for me. Starting off with Vikings at the Bengals. So it looks as though Nick Mullins is going to be the starting quarterback this week for the Vikings. The Josh Dobbs era has come and gone. Justin Jefferson, really felt for him. He had been out for a number of weeks. He comes back and gets a big hit. Chest injury takes him out of the game last week. But the good news is it sounds like he will play this week, which is huge for the Vikings because they've got great weapons. And one Nick Mullins, who used to be with the 49ers, I saw firsthand in Levi Stadium. Nick Mullins guide George Kittle to 210 receiving yards in one half. So what could he do with Justin Jefferson? No, I'm kidding. But Justin Jefferson is the real deal. I still believe he's the best receiver in the league. I know he's been injured, but when he, hopefully he's back for the rest of the year now, and I'm sure he will prove me right that he really is the best receiver in the league. The Cincinnati Bengals under Jake Browning. We thought the season was over when Joe Burrow went down. Apparently not yet, because Jake Browning has done enough. He has produced enough decent play at quarterback to allow the Bengals offense to function. We talked about one great receiver from the Vikings who played at LSU in college. Well, I'm going to talk about another one now, and it is Jamar Chase. I love Jamar Chase. He talks that talk and he walks that walk. He says he's the best receiver in the league and he believes it. I'm not quite there with him, but I do believe he is top 3. No doubt in my mind that he is underrated. He continues to be underrated. People talk about him like he's the 10th or the 8th best receiver. Not a chance. I will take this man over anyone not named Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill. T. Higgins is back. Tyler Boyd. They've got an abundance of quality weapons. Joe Mixon out the backfield. I feel like the defense hasn't been as good as it has been in the past. But if they can just find enough, this team can be a problem. They could maybe cause some upsets. They're still fighting for the wild card places in the playoffs. They have a shot. If Browning can continue to just produce enough. I'm not asking him to be Joe Burrow, but just give your guys a chance. Get the ball in Jamar Chase's hands and he'll do the rest. I think that the Bengals will have too much for the Vikings. As much as Nick Mullins, great story to come in, get the job done last week. I think the Bengals have been pretty good over the last 2 weeks. And I expect that to continue. The spread is -3. I could see a push. Where the Bengals win it on a field goal. But I will certainly go for the Bengals to win the game. The second game of this Saturday night triple header, Steelers at Colts. Another game likely with Mitchell Trubisky. I've made my feelings clear about how I feel about Trubisky. I can't pick the Steelers to win when it's him at quarterback. They do have a few issues either way. I mean, TJ Watt, I think he has cleared concussion protocol now. I just can't get over Trubisky at quarterback. He was so bad against the Patriots. This Colts team is better than the Patriots. Gardner Minshew has done a great job. He's one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league. We haven't seen great backup quarterback play, as I said, overall, but he certainly isn't part of that. He's been pretty good. He's kept them alive. Colts are at home. I expect them to get the job done. I can't really see much offense from the Steelers, so it's a case of don't let TJ Watt just break this game. Run the ball with Jonathan Taylor. The connection between Gardner Minshew and Michael Pittman Jr. seems to continue to grow. Don't make mistakes and the Colts will win this game, I think. The main event on Saturday night's triple header is the Broncos at the Lions. I mean, wow. You talk about two teams that have gone in the complete different directions this season. The Broncos with their awful start. The Lions got off to, they were on fire at the start. And now look at these two teams. The Broncos have lost one game in the last 7. The Lions are kind of free-falling at the moment. They've won a few games that they shouldn't have, but on the most part, they haven't played well. I'm gonna ride Broncos country. Let's ride. I'm gonna go with the Broncos. I just think that the Lions' defense can't stop anything, and their offense just in a struggle. This is not the defense to play against when you're in a struggle. I think the Lions will turn the ball over multiple times. I think the Broncos will capitalize on that. And I think that the Broncos offense with Russell Wilson, will do enough. Will do, probably more than enough to win this game. So Broncos win. I believe the spread is, it's -4 in favour of the Lions. Yeah, take the plus. I like Broncos +4. I like them to win. Moving on to Sunday's games, we start with Bears at Browns. The Browns are favoured by 3. The Bears have definitely shown improvement, but I would say that this is a far bigger test than they've faced so far. Going into the Browns, not many teams, I mean, you look at the 49ers, they had a very tough day there. The Browns are coming off the win against the Jaguars, another great team. I think this might just be a bridge too far for Justin Fields and the Bears. They've had some good wins recently. They've played at a much better level, particularly the defense, actually. But I just see the Browns, suffocating them a bit. The pass rush will give Justin Fields huge problems in this game. Won't be a pretty game, I don't think. And the Browns, they may win this game by 3. This could be another push. But I'm going to go with the Browns to win this one. Buccaneers at Packers. Interesting game. The spread is in favour of the Packers by 3.5. The Buccaneers, and the Packers are two teams that just scream inconsistency. They can be quite good on their day. They can also be quite bad, which is highlighted by their records. Baker definitely is a fighter. I'll give him that. And he and Mike Evans obviously have a great connection. They've still got Chris Godwin. They've got a running game sort of going as well. I think this comes down to the fact that the Packers do need their run game to get going in order to sort of allow them to run the offense they want to run. And the Buccaneers are very good at stopping the run. So on the face of it, I would think, the Buccaneers will stifle that run game enough where the Packers might not get anything going on offense. But the Buccaneers' pass defense is not very good either. So can the Packers in Lambeau Field bounce back and take advantage of that? I'm going to say that they can. I would not feel confident about taking the 3.5 point spread. But I think the Packers will win a close one. I think Jordan Love will make just enough plays. Even though the Buccaneers are good at stopping the run, A.J. Dillon is a beast. Like, he will take his toll on that front seven of the Buccaneers because he's not your average running back. It is like a fridge hitting you. So I say that the Packers make just enough plays and they win this game. Texans at Titans. Titans favoured by 3. CJ Stroud is in concussion protocol. That was a horrendous hit to the floor last week. He banged the back of his head into that MetLife turf that is just basically cursed at this point. The amount of injuries that happen at MetLife Stadium every year. I guess this one wasn't unavoidable. It just is what it is. There's no way that the Texans win this game without CJ Stroud, I don't think. If he plays, he gives them a chance, but again, he hasn't practiced all week. Is the I wouldn't say pressure, but the opportunity to make the playoffs impacting the Texans now? Because they weren't very good up to that point that CJ Stroud went out the game last week. It was against a very good Jets defense. The Titans, they hung in there. They were very physical against the Dolphins. This is the first of 2 meetings between these teams over the next few weeks. I think I'm going to go with the Titans based on CJ Stroud's status. If he plays, I think the lack of practice will maybe catch up with them as well. The loss of Tank Dell has really impacted this offense as well. So I think right now I'm going to take the Titans. Jets at Dolphins. Zach Wilson played pretty well last week. The Dolphins are coming off the loss. Tyreek Hill with this ankle injury. I'm going to assume that he is able to go in this game. I think this will be a much different game to the game these two teams played on Black Friday. But I'm going to lean towards the Dolphins to bounce back. 8.5 is the spread. That's too high for me. The Dolphins win, the Jets cover. Chiefs at Patriots. The Chiefs are favoured by 7.5. It's kind of surprising that I haven't actually spoken about the Chiefs up until now. Just kind of speaks to where they are at. It's not a good situation right now. Offensively, they get very little going. I know Rashee Rice has shown some promise, but he's not a number 1 receiver at the end of the day. Travis Kelce doesn't look right either. Was an amazing play that got called back. That just kind of spoke to their season, I guess. The frustration after that. Kadarius Toney was offside. It was the right call. I'm not sure they can salvage this season. But they're playing the Patriots this week, who reports this week say they will be parting with Bill Belichick. I can't imagine that Bill Belichick is very pleased about that being leaked. How will it go? I think the Chiefs will bounce back here just by default of the fact that they are still a better team than the Patriots. The Patriots are in total dysfunction, really. Yes, they beat the Steelers. Good win there, but you were facing Mitchell Trubisky, who did not really resemble an NFL-level backup quarterback. Not even a backup quarterback. Mahomes is obviously at a completely different spectrum to Trubisky. I believe they were in the same draft. The Chiefs, I think, will have enough in this game. But having said that, I'm not sure I could really trust them with 7.5 the way their offense is playing. So Chiefs win. Giants at Saints. The Saints are a team that I maybe think are better than they actually are. I seem to pick them a lot. And you look at the weapons they've still got. I know that Michael Thomas is out, but they've got Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, who's had a fair share of injuries himself. Alvin Kamara is still damn good. Taysom Hill, the ultimate Swiss Army knife weapon. Derek Carr, some issues there. He can look very good. He can also look very bad. Defensively, they're probably a bit older, than, their prime, I guess. They were very, very good for a period of time, and maybe the aging process has caught up with them a little bit. The Giants, don't know what to make of them, really. Tommy DeVito has improved from when he first started. I think it is just a case again of mission stop Saquon Barkley, but also watch out for the Tommy DeVito quarterback run, because he scrambled a lot against the Packers and they didn't adjust, and he just kept taking what they were giving him, which was clear air to run through. So the Saints, I think, will probably pick up on that a bit more. It's in the Dome. The last time the Giants played in the Dome with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, they won a thriller where they both went off. I think the Saints win this one. Famous last words. Falcons at Panthers. I don't have a strong opinion about this. The Falcons have let me down countless times, just like last week. But by default, I just can't pick the Panthers. This is a good chance for the Panthers to actually win a game. I don't like the Panthers owner, David Tepper. I think that he has created a dysfunctional organisation that they didn't deserve. I'm going to roll with the Falcons once again. Please don't let me down for a second week in a row. They should have too much for the Panthers with the likes of Bijan Robinson. Desmond Ridder's favourite target by a clear margin, like I've been saying for most of the year, is Drake London. And Drake London is making big plays. He did actually get Kyle Pitts involved a bit last week as well. So there's so much potential for the Falcons. But if Desmond Ridder can't maximise that, they are going nowhere. So I do think in the off-season, they've got to find an answer at quarterback, because to me, they've got plenty of weapons here. So yeah, Falcons win that game. Sneaky great game, I think this will be. Commanders at the Rams. Commanders are coming off their bye week. What an effort by the Rams. Matthew Stafford, I keep saying it, he is an elite quarterback. He is an elite thrower. He definitely raises this team up. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, the tight end, I can't remember his name. This is actually a very good offense. They've got a run game to go with it. They pushed the Ravens all the way. It took literally a heroic kick return in overtime for them to lose. So they win this game. But I think that the Commanders will offer a better showing than they did 2 weeks ago against the Dolphins. They were pathetic. Let's face it, they were pathetic against the Dolphins at home. I think Sam Howell will bounce back to a degree in this game. I fancy this to be ultra high scoring. The over-under is 50.5. Definitely think that they go past that. A ton of yards. I could see Stafford and Sam Howell both throwing for 300 yards in this game. But ultimately, I think the Rams are the better team. McVay's a great coach. I think that Ron Rivera is seeing his last few games as the Commanders coach. Rams win. 6.5 point spread is a little bit too rich for me, though. I don't think the Rams are a dominant team yet. They may cover this, but I will just say that they win the game. 49ers at Cardinals. Interesting game. Kyler Murray is a nightmare to contain. He will definitely make plays in this game, but I can't go against the 49ers right now. I think that even if they play at their B grade like they did last week, they'll still probably win fairly comfortably. Jonathan Gannon, though, I just continue to say, if this is it for him in Arizona, he deserves another shot. He's shown me plenty to say that he is head coach material. Especially during that Josh Dobbs era earlier in the season, he had to scheme up ways to produce offense, and he did. Like it was with what he's working with, he's done very well in my opinion. Don't just look at the record. I do think Kyler Murray will keep this game closer than maybe expected. The spread is 12.5. 49ers win. Cardinals cover, but it might not be by that much. I think the 49ers might win this between 7 and 10 points. Now to the game of the week, in my opinion. Cowboys at Bills. From top to bottom, I think the Cowboys have the better roster for sure. But in my opinion, my humble opinion, I think the Bills have the better quarterback. And I'm talking about Joshua Patrick Allen, the all-purpose quarterback, the one-man show that he is. Runs like Lamar, throws like Mahomes. This is a top-tier player. If you want to just look at the interceptions, that's up to you. But the guy is doing everything he can in his power with what's around him. He does not have the supporting cast that Dak Prescott has, for example. It's in Buffalo. We are in December, and upsets do occur. But funnily enough, the Bills are favoured by 2. I mean, they're at home, so Vegas really makes them an underdog on a neutral site. And if this game was in Dallas, in Jerry World, I'd probably have no doubts that I'd be picking the Cowboys, because the Cowboys' speed really shows up when they're playing at home in the Dome. But this week they're not playing in the Dome. They're playing in Buffalo, in the elements, in December. The Bills' defense has been pretty good. It's not great. It's not like top 3 or anything like that. But they've been pretty good, especially considering how undermanned they are, losing the likes of Matt Milano earlier in the season. They've had a lot of injuries, in fact. But this is just one of those games where I'm going to go with my gut feeling. Maybe this is a fault of mine, but I am rolling with Joshua Patrick Allen to cause what I feel is the upset. I just think that the Bills, under this new offensive scheme with Joe Brady, they've kind of unlocked James Cook to a point. They played the Eagles very hard. They won a fairly ugly game last week. They will have to be at their, shall we say, best that they can do this week, because this is a very, very good Cowboys team. I am certainly not underestimating how good the Cowboys are. But I just think that in Buffalo, in December, upsets do happen, and I think that this will be one of them. And if the Bills can pull this off, they are well and truly alive in the AFC picture again. Off to Sunday Night Football. Ravens at the Jaguars. I've been highly disappointed with the Jaguars, who are London's team. They are effectively my AFC team because of that. They've shown so much promise throughout the year, but this past 2 weeks, losing to the Bengals at home. They lost to the Browns. That was a very ugly game in the end. The Browns' defense really suffocated them. 31-27 didn't really show you the true reflection of the game. The Jaguars scored a late garbage time touchdown. It was far more comfortable, in my opinion, than the scoreline suggests. And now they get the Ravens, the third AFC North team in 3 weeks. I'm going to pick the Ravens. I think that Lamar is on a tear. I don't like the MVP discussion this year about being about quarterbacks, because I don't think overall the quarterback play has been good enough to warrant a quarterback winning MVP this year. But Lamar has 4 weeks. He's got some very difficult games ahead. Jaguars, 49ers. He can put himself in the race, or at least he can establish himself further in this conversation. I just think that the Ravens are executing at a higher level than the Jaguars. I think talent-wise, they've both got great talent on both sides of the ball. But to me, there's something missing with the Jaguars' execution, perhaps play calling, just something. I can't put my finger on it. I think the Ravens will take care of business here. They did lose in Jacksonville last year. I believe that Justin Tucker had a very long field goal attempt to tie the game or even win the game. I think that will be added motivation for them. That's not the sort of thing that John Harbaugh will miss this week, that the fact they lost here last year. Ravens win. And the last game of the week, Monday Night Football. It is Eagles at Seahawks. Yeah, this should be a fascinating game. It's a must-have for both of these teams. Seattle, they're at risk of missing the playoffs. They're starting to fall down the ladder and out of those wildcard spots. When they were fairly secure a few weeks ago, this gauntlet that they've been on, 49ers twice, Cowboys, and to finish up with the Eagles, they're 0-3 as it stands. I think they're going to fall to 0-4. The Eagles coming off 2 losses to those same teams I've just mentioned, Cowboys and 49ers, in emphatic fashion. There's going to be a response from the Eagles, I think, this week. They are going to Seattle, so they will be facing the 12s, which is an intimidating place to go. But Seattle, as I've said before, I don't think they're quite ready to play with the NFL's elite. And the Eagles are still an elite team. They're still one of the top 5 teams in the NFL. And I think they'll show that this week. They've got plenty of weapons. Seattle's defense kind of got shredded a bit against the 49ers that weren't at the full races last week. And look at what happened. Purdy threw for record passing yards for him. They had 2 receivers over 100 yards. They had, CMC over 100 rushing yards. And the 49ers weren't fully at it. Now, what I would say is that the Eagles' offense is far from, even a B-plus 49ers offense right now. But they have the potential to be just as explosive if they can find this passing game, if they can unlock it again. Because A.J. Brown has been very quiet the last few weeks. Yes, he went over 100 yards against the 49ers, but a lot of that was in garbage time. I'm talking about the 6-game stretch that he had earlier in the year where he went 6 consecutive games over 125 receiving yards. This is one of the very best receivers in the league. And Jalen Hurts has to find a way to show that to everyone again, because the last few weeks they have not shown anything anywhere near their potential. Now, the question is, the Eagles' passing defense, they've really struggled. And now they're going to get DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Noah Fant, who's been quite a big piece for them at tight end. I fancy quite a high-scoring game. Monday Night Football this year has been known to be under, a lot. A lot of these Monday Night Football games have been under. I'm going to say that this is one that goes over. I think this will be high-scoring. Eagles are favoured by 4 points. It could be one of those games, sort of like 34-31, I think. I don't think the Eagles will run away with this one. Eagles win. All right, they cover. Eagles cover as well. It will be close, though. Much closer than perhaps these Seahawks games with the 49ers have been. So lastly, this week, we're going to look at some best bets. So I'm going to start off with Saturday Night Football. Oh, love it. Love December. Saturday night football we get to watch. A bonus day. The first game of the day, we've got Vikings versus Bengals. And my best bet is Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, both to go over 80 yards receiving. You can get that at 4-1. I think that's a great shot. Yes, it's Nick Mullins. Yes, it's Jake Browning. We're going to need to see, Jefferson and Jamar Chase make things happen, but they can make things happen. These are two of the three very best receivers in the league. No debate. I expect them to show up on Saturday. My second best bet of the week is going to be in the Commanders at Rams game. I say that game goes over. The over-under is 50.5. I see offensive explosion in this game, possibly a back and forth. Even if the Rams go out to a big lead, Sam Howell loves a fight back. Over 50.5. Commanders, terrible defense. Rams, pretty good. But Sam Howell loves to throw for 300 yards himself. So I think they've got decent weapons to at least make a dent in this Rams defense. And my final best bet for this week is Dak Prescott and Josh Allen over 250 passing yards and 2 or more passing touchdowns. That is 10-3. I definitely see Dak putting up yards. It's a tougher task for Josh Allen against a very good defense with the Cowboys, but the Cowboys do like to take some gambles, especially Deron Bland, who, yes, he's had record number of pick sixes. All credit to him, but he has had a few games where he can get torched. And while Stephon Gilmore was locked down last week, all credit to him. I think Josh Allen is playing well enough to put up 250 passing yards in this game at home. They've asked the Bills Mafia to be loud as possible. I think the atmosphere will be great for this one. That's my last best bet of the week. So yeah, that is my Week 15 preview. Thank you for watching. As I said, you're going to get solo videos from Rob and Paul. Be on the lookout for that on our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram at 4th and Gold NFL Podcast. We'll be dropping all of our best bets, our predictions, all that great stuff there throughout the week. So yeah, thanks a lot and enjoy the games this week.